I think one of the great things about South African cricket, if you think about readmission, since readmission, Alan Donald was sensational as far as a fast bowler is concerned. Right now we've got someone like Rabada who is superb and surging with great intent and will be for a long time. There's a guy in the middle there who will be going down as one of the finest bowlers ever, finest fast bowlers ever in the history of the game. Here's a reminder of him.
Steyn's got 9 wickets for the match.
Oh, beautifully bowled, Dale Steyn.
I was saying, good ball, Michael. I said, I'll bowl you out again next time. He says, you're right. He said, wasn't it? He said, I don't know where it came from. That's just one of those freak deliveries. He might never bowl one as good again.
And he's done it again. Extraordinary. Well, there you are. That just shows that lightning can strike twice.
He's out. That's 7 wickets for Dale Steyn. Catcher is the call, is gone! Gone!
5 wickets now, and he's deserved them. #1 in the world, and he's shown exactly why. Dale Steyn. Oh, inside edge and gone.
Oh, there it is. There's an edge. Got him. 2 balls. That's all it's taken, Dale Steyn. A peach of a delivery. Oh, bowled in. And that is 5 for Dale Steyn.
Catch that is.
It's Dale Steyn's best figures in South Africa, 6 for 8. Got him! That's him! Gone! Steyn gets the skipper. Oh, big shot, it's gone! There's 2 and 2 by Dale Steyn. Oh, he got him! Yes, he has!
This is 100th wicket for Dale Steyn.
200 wickets in Test match cricket for Dale Steyn. He's the 4th fastest of all time.
Bowling! Fantastically done by Dale Steyn. And what a way to bring up 300.
He's got his reward. It's number 400.
It's a first stuff, Dale Steyn, the champion cricketer of South Africa.
The man is a master.
400 and counting, and that's the most important thing about the guy alongside me right now, Dale Steyn. Welcome.
Thanks, Hazy.
I guess for starters, I mean, looking back at that, I mean, that's got to stir some memories for you.
Some terrible haircuts there along the way too. But yeah, it's you know, thinking about Mornay and watching him get his 300th yesterday, and just watching like a highlights clip of him through the years when he gets his first wicket till his 300th. Kind of reminds me of my journey as I've gone along playing for the Proteas. So it's special to watch that.
And I guess in respect to this series, you would love nothing better than to be playing in a fiery series like this against Australia.
I would have loved it. Always loved playing against the best opposition. Not to say that any opposition is weak, but Australia do come with that history, you know, and they've obviously beaten us here the last couple of tours that they played. Yeah, so I would have loved to have come, try to make a difference and hopefully help the Proteas to win. But I think guys like KG and Mornay and Lungi, AB certainly, and Dean are trying to make that difference now.
I want to talk a little bit about KG a little bit later on, but first of all, let's just talk about you and your career and about the guys who inspired you. I mean, I understand Shoaib Akhtar, for starters, is someone that inspired you as a youngster coming through?
Yeah, a couple guys. Growing up, I didn't have a lot of cricket to kind of watch. My first initial remembrance of cricket was probably the 1992 World Cup. But I used to watch guys like Shoaib, Brett Lee, Alan Donald and Sean, and I based a lot of those guys, what they do and what they bring to their game, to my game. I remember standing at the top of my mark when I was 18 and thinking, I'm Brett Lee, and I'd run in. And then as I got into my gather, I'd think Alan Donald because of how fluent and how easy his action was. And then, you know, I think in my mind, Sean Pollock about his accuracy. And then as I let go of the ball, I thought Shoaib Akhtar and pace. Okay. So I had those 4 players in mind growing up. I modeled myself around them.
That's not a bad 4.
No, it's. I mean, if you're going to model yourself around any 4, it's probably them. Throw Glenn McGrath into the mix there. They're all pretty much the same height as me, bar Glenn. So yeah, those are kind of my role models growing up.
So we looked at Shaw. What about Brett Lee? We're going to have a look at Brett Lee now. I mean, specifically about Brett. I mean, I think all fast bowlers just love the way he went about his work.
Yeah, I loved his pace, and also his celebration. You know, it just showed that he was keen every time he had the ball in hand, that he wanted to make a difference, and skillful. There you can see he had some good skill. But what I loved about him is at the top of his mark, when he was looking down the wicket at the batter, you could just see in his eyes that he meant business. And sitting and watching it on TV, I got scared, you know, so I can only imagine what the batters felt. So I thought if I could bring that into my game, stand at the top of my mark, look down the wicket, and let the batter know that I was present in the competition, that I was always going to go the distance, and that's what he brings to the party.
So when did you first get to know Alan Donald? When did you first meet Alan? And again, you mentioned him. When did you first get to work with him or chat to him?
I bumped into Alan, you know, here or there. I think Alan, being a lover of fast bowling, he kind of, you know, tried to find his way to me, really, you know, once he was done with his career. And fortunate enough for us, he ended up being our bowling coach, you know.
Right.
And although Alan probably didn't technically help me with a lot, because by the time he had joined in, I was already 200 test wickets into my career. The one thing I loved about Alan is that he always made me feel like I was the best in the world. When I was down at fine leg, he would come there, put both his arms over my shoulders because he towered over me. And he'd just keep reminding me, Dalo, you're the best. You're going to make a difference right now. And I loved that about him, you know, and he really inspired me to go out there, him and Mark Boucher, to kind of go out there and really break it open. And when I sniffed blood, you know, I went for the kill. And the other thing I loved about Alan was his stories in the dressing room. You know, I'd love him. I'd go and sit there, he'd grab a castle, and he'd come and sit there in the corner, and we would talk about fast bowling, where he had played when he played for Warwickshire, way back when, 92 and before then, and where he came from. I love that about Alan. You know, it was you know, one of my heroes, being my coaches. I couldn't have asked for more.
You mentioned that Mark Boucher and Alan Donald used to pump you up. Are you naturally a confident guy? Would you describe yourself as that?
I think so. I mean, I like to prove people wrong. Right. You know, I've got a heart just like anybody else, and it beats. But like a duck on water, you try not to show how like you know, excited you get. I try and like keep it cool like that. But when I'm in the competition and the heat of the battle, I like to win. But you know, all along the lines of gamesmanship and sportsmanship, along the lines at the same time.
Your record is extraordinary, and as I said, you'll go down as one of the very finest fast bowlers ever. But those celebrations I showed right at the start, just to relay that little story, that Fuff come to you not so long ago, or you went to Fuff and said you might just tone some of that down a bit?
Yeah, I think some of my celebrations may have gotten me into trouble with injuries. You know, I'm like jumping up and celebrating
like
so
shoulders,
much.
maybe?
Yeah, possibly, you know, like maybe tearing a muscle or something like that. But so I said to Fuff, look, I'm not going to celebrate that hard when I get those dodgy wickets, like the batter smashing one to square leg when I haven't really earned it. I'd rather celebrate the ones where I've worked the guy over, you know, 2 away swingers, in swinger, whatever, you know, that kind of thing. And Fuff actually sat me down and he said, no. He said, you don't understand how much this team enjoys it when you celebrate and how much you lift the team. And that's why you need to celebrate. You know, you need to be in the moment and you need to lift the side. And I think fast bowlers do that. Spinners that spin the ball a mile can do that. Batters that hit the ball out the park, you know. Exciting cricket. And I think, you know, I possess that, so I'm not going to throw it on the shelf or throw it away just yet.
Possess might be the right word, too. At the time you look a little bit possessed. But anyway, I'm going to go back to a quote that I read about, just looking at some stuff throughout your career. You were saying that when you were at Morensky High School in Steyn, you said when you live in a small town and there's just a handful of players, and you were talented at that in those years, raw talent and exceptional pace, you said it doesn't really count that you may be the cream of the crop. People might say you're destined for great things, but when you're in a small town, what are the chances?
Yeah, I stick by that today, you know. Yeah, Palabora is a really small town. Steyn, where I went to school, is a really small town, and I was the best in that area. And then when I moved to Pretoria, I quickly realized that there were a lot of other players around, and I wasn't, you know, so I had to do a lot of work. So yeah, I mean, it still gets to me these days. I get onto a plane and I fly to Joburg, or you know, I fly to Palabora, and you fly all the way across country from Cape Town. And I look down and I often think to myself, I'm pretty privileged and pretty lucky to represent this country and to be the best that this country has produced, you know, in somewhat. But still a lot of hard work, and hopefully I can still do it for a couple more years. Right,
let's get into some examples of your brilliant work. I mean, let's not beat around the bush here. December 2004, you made your debut, your first Test wicket. Sean Pollock gave me a chat.
Yeah, Polly was phenomenal. The day before the test match was very sweet. He snuck this little note under my room door, and I woke up the next morning and there was this little note, and just wished me luck for the day. And I wish I still had it. Typical 21-year-old, I've obviously lost it. But yeah, running in there against Marcus, just so I think you can see the celebration. Very excited. I celebrated a lot like that for the Titans when I just started making my first-class debut. And then that ball, I get reminded of that ball pretty much daily these days.
I mean, that was exceptional.
Yeah, it's a good nut. Probably
What
hit
do you mean it's a good nut? Hang on a sec.
it probably hit some crack or some like rock that Michael didn't move off the wicket there. But I bowled a couple since then, and every time I bowl one like that, people do remind me that it's the Michael Vaughan delivery. So it's a nice one. Like Shane Warne got Gatting, I've got Vaughan.
I think he might. Well, I can look at it again. I think Michael Vaughan even said that he realised then that there's something special on the arena.
Look, it's a good ball. It actually does do a lot now that I watch it. But I like bowling to guys like Vaughan. They kind of stand still. They almost show you off stump. So there's a big chance that if they do play and miss, off stump goes cartwheeling. Whereas I find these days you get batters like Hash, Steve Smith. I mean, he's got a phenomenal record. These guys really get outside off AB. They get outside off and they take bowled and LBW almost out of the equation. Whereas you're almost only looking to get them out caught behind in a way. It's the moment you stray onto the pads, they just smash you for 4, through the leg side. Whereas back then, batters were taught take middle, stand still, look to hit down the ground. The game has changed so much. So I love bowling at batters like that and find that these days it's probably a little bit more difficult bowling to your batters like Steve Smith, AB, Hash. They found a way of combating that.
I mean, you've done this superbly over the years and you're still going, as you said, there's going to be more to come. But I mean, what a ride. I mean, looking back at it now, I mean, you must pinch yourself from time to time and think this has just been remarkable, what's happened, and I'll stress, so far.
Yeah, I'm very lucky. I grew up idolising guys like Jock, Callis, Bouchy, Smith. I managed to play in the same team as AB for my debut, a first-class game and test match. And the strange thing is these guys, I call them my best friends. I went to my best mate's house last night to celebrate his 300th test wicket. Not many people get to meet these superstars, and I get to call them my mates. So I've had a fantastic journey playing cricket. It's not over the cricket side of things, but I've made amazing friends and met amazing people along the way that have helped me pave my life, and changed me for who I could have been if I lived and still stayed in a small town like Palabora. So I'm very lucky.
Right, let's go back to, this is going to be December 2008. Now, the Boxing Day Test match in Australia, I know this performance, 2 5-wicket hauls for starters. We'll get you batting shortly. But these 2 5-wicket hauls, the 10 wickets you got in the Boxing Day Test in Melbourne, I mean, this meant a lot to you.
Yeah, I got a couple lucky ones too, a couple drag-ons. I think Hayden smashed one a short cover there. I got Clarkey out there with one that was caught at cover. Probably my worst ball that I bowled that whole morning, to be honest with you. And sometimes you deserve one like that. But to go there and help the Proteas win their first tour of Australia was pretty fantastic. I got into the bus, and I've told this story before, got into the bus after the last day's play when we won the test match and watched grown men cry like Callis and realised how often he had been down to Australia and lost so badly and how much it meant to him. That's what made a difference to me, realising that I could change people's lives in a small way. So that performance stands out for me in leaps and bounds.
Right, I mentioned we're going to get to the batting as well. 180 stand with JP Duminy. Yourself some 76 runs. You got a bit of a working over as well.
Yeah, myself, Harrow, Mornay, we went in at, I think Harrow and Mornay were in the night before. And we came out the next morning blazing a little bit, but we took some shots, I won't lie. Bouchy had actually gotten with us into the nets the day before and worked with us a little bit so we can handle the short ball. But we took some blows. I mean, my kit wasn't the best back then there. I was amazed I didn't break fingers. And I always talk about it. I ended up with 76 and I was 4 hits away from 100 because Simons was bowling and he was just throwing it up, and I kept thinking to myself, I could smash this guy. But there was more to it, and I had to kind of stick out there for the side, and eventually missed a straight ball from Siddle and got bowled.
I'm now going to move to 2010, a couple of years later. Your career best, 751 at Nagpur. I mean, that was different circumstance, of course, different conditions, but another extraordinary performance.
Yeah, it was a good performance on a pretty flat deck. The morning we got the ball to swing a little bit, and I was able to... Oh, that ball there.
That's Tendulkar. I want to talk more about that in a sec.
Yeah, I got Tendulkar, but I think I started off with 2 wickets. I got Vijay left one. to start off with. But then we changed the ball. Something happened to the ball. We got the ball changed. And the first ball I bowled, I ran in and it shaped and I got caught by Ashwell Prince at mid-wicket. And then the ball just started to reverse and I cleaned them up. So sometimes the ball change does really help.
Right, well, we actually saw that happen in the last Test match, if I'm not mistaken, in Port Elizabeth. So, as I said, 7 for 51, extraordinary performance from yourself there. The first wicket we showed was that of Tendulkar, but I do want to just... A.B. de Villiers says that's the best wicket he thinks you've ever got. 751 when you bowled a couple of deliveries. In fact, you tell the story, the way you set Tendulkar up.
Yeah, the ball was swinging. There was still a new ball, so it was swinging. I wasn't trying to run in rapidly and bowl 150 k's an hour. There was a little bit of swing, and I thought if I bowl quick enough, but I'll use the skill on a flat wicket, I could get a wicket. So I bowled him one or two that went away, and I brought one back in. The first one that I brought back in almost got him bowled. I got the previous batter out bowled. And then I bowled another one, he had a massive inside edge, and it went for 2, whatever, down leg side, and then I started going away. He drove me for 4. But I stuck to the guns. The next one, I don't know whether he knew which way it was going. I took it away from him and I managed to find the outside edge. So a little bit of skill, but look, that little master, I always found it was difficult bowling to him because at some point in my career I bowled to him and I realized I was standing at the top of my mark. I just felt like he knew what I was going to bowl. Right. And that morning, I had it over him. So yeah, it's a cherished wicket.
I mean, you've had some battles with Sachin over the years. I remember right here, a few years ago, you had a bit of it wasn't a verbal battle, but you certainly let him know you were around.
No, I'm always going to let someone know I'm around. I'm a quick, fast bowler, I guess.
How important is that?
Well, I think it plays a major role. I think your team looks up to you, one, because you need to... as a fast bowler, I think you need to show that you need to spread fear into the opposition. There's 2 different ways of getting wickets. One is skill, 2 is luck. Obviously, I say 2, but the other one is to actually scare players out. And batters to fear you. They don't move their feet, and I think that's what I possess. Morne has that. KG certainly has that right now, and you need to let them know that you're present in the competition, and fear is a major thing.
And just back to that Tendulkar story about the battle with him here.
Yeah, it was amazing. I actually think I nicked him off. No DRS back then. I didn't hear it as much. It was quite windy that day, and neither did Bouch. But on replay showed that I nicked him off. But he ended up batting through. I think he got 100 in the second innings. In the first innings, he batted, didn't score many runs, but just didn't get out. The ball was swinging around under tough conditions. And like I say, that day I felt like he knew when I was running in what I was going to bowl. Whether I was going to bowl on a away swinger or an in swinger, he had me covered. So it's those battles, and they go long more than just one series. They last years. So it was a fantastic time to play against him when I thought that he was almost at his best just before he retired.
The Test match last week in Port Elizabeth, we showed your magnificent spell against Australia. 2 spells, particularly in the second innings, reverse swinging the ball last time they were here. But we're going to show now the double up, basically. Both times you got Brad Haddin with magnificent reverse swing.
Yeah, it's pretty special. The first innings there, that one just nipped back in. I think that was the first innings. I wasn't bowling particularly well, I remember. And then once the ball started to tail, Graham brought me back on and managed to break the door down a little bit. That wicket happened just after I got Clarkie out, caught slip. Yep. And it was just nice. I mean, it's not often you get to see a batter get bowled, castled in exactly the same fashion, especially middle stump. You might bowl him like off stump, the bail might fall out, but both innings to see the stump go cartwheeling. Sorry, Brad, but I won that one, mate.
What were you saying to the stump there?
I think
the thin stump cameraman.
Yeah, I think I screamed it's exactly the same as the first innings, these battles go on, and I knew there was another Test match coming on, and yeah, in Cape Town, and it's nice to get into a batter's ear sometimes, just to let him know that you, again, present. There's one more Test match to go. Hopefully I can get you again like this.
Right, Dale. So cricket wasn't always your great love. I mean, that story is quite interesting as you were growing up.
Yeah, I mean, I played lots of sports growing up. Actually, cricket was really difficult for me. I mean, on weekends, I used to travel long distances. I was in hostel. So my parents would pick me up on a Friday, or I'd catch the bus home on a Friday, an hour and a half's drive. And then on a Saturday morning, 2 hours to the cricket game, 2 hours back home. Sunday, another hour or 2 hours to a game back. And then Monday morning early, back to hostel. So, I love cricket, but it became quite difficult for me. So I picked up, like any other young guy does, I loved skateboarding growing up. And when I moved to Pretoria, I was actually skateboarding a lot. And I was like, maybe I'll do this as a career. But unfortunately, they didn't pay as much in skateboarding as they did in cricket. I played my first few first-class games. It's getting paid 2,500 Rand a game, and life changed for me from there. But I love it still. I don't get onto a skateboard as much. I surf a lot now. I've always been a bit like wild and alternative when it comes to that. And I think I bring that into my cricket, you know. It's very relaxed, but I like to express myself like it when I get a wicket, just like when I was skateboarding and I landed a big trick, or when I surf and I do some silly thing. I'm not the greatest surfer, but if I achieve something that I want to achieve, I celebrate it pretty much the same way as I do when I'm playing cricket.
And let's lastly just confirm you are far from done. You've got many more test wickets in your belt.
I am. I'm certainly far from done. I'm looking at the foothole where my foot got messed up over here. I got muddy foot, or whatever they call it. It's just bad bruising on the heel. Unfortunately, I'm not going to get through 30 overs plus in a test match. And like I said in one of the interviews, I can't walk off the field again for South Africa. So we look again in July for Sri Lanka. But leading into there's possibly a little bit of county cricket. I'm not going to the IPL. So there's a lot of cricket still left in me. There's a World Cup next year. I feel KG's a fantastic bowler. With Mornay stepping down now, he might need that. He might need somebody to just kind of captain the ship, you know, because if he goes to that World Cup next year, playing only 30 or 41 days, he'll be the leader, but you don't know who else is there, you know. You've got a leader in your batting, so hopefully I'll put my hand up there and try, who knows, you know, but there's a lot of cricket still to come.
Terrific, Dale. Thanks for chatting us through this masterclass. Really enjoyed it. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Thanks, Hazy. Thank you.
So there you go. There's Dale Steyn, one of the champions, one of the true champions of the game, and terrific to have him here. And remember, he will be back. There's no doubt about that whatsoever. Righto, BJ, back to you.
Well done, Hazy. Fantastic work there. Dale Steyn, one of the champions of South Africa. Got two champions alongside me, Graham Smith and Sean Pollock. And boys, you played a lot with him. First, I want to ask you, Smithy, what about those celebrations? I've never seen a guy, the vein sticking out the side of his neck when he takes a wicket.
I still, to this day, I mean, it's just an impulsive thing. He's such a relaxed guy off the field, very quiet, very timid, actually. But once he crosses the line, it's like another beast arrives inside of him. And certainly he does enjoy getting the wickets, the big celebrations. And you know, as he said, he became the leader of our attack. He became the go-to man. And what an unbelievable record. Hopefully there's still a lot more to come from him. He's had a few injuries of late, but largely remained fit and was one of the reasons why we were at the top of our game for a long period of time.
Sean, what about that when you put your arm around him for his first test match, top of his mark, what'd you say to him?
I can't remember. You really put him on the spot. No, I think it was more whatever you've done to get here provincially, it's more of the same at this level. Maybe you just have to be a bit more controlled and a bit more accurate than you are at provincial level. But he was just raw, it was pace, it was run in, back yourself. And ever since then, it's been a case of he has backed himself, he has produced. I can even remember a game after that in Sri Lanka, he got so cross with himself, Jazz Surya got hold of him, and he was screaming into his hat, he wasn't quite sure where to go. And I said, buddy, that happens. You'll be better than that. But he was just a fantastic performer. Well, for me, definitely go down as the greatest fast bowler in South Africa since readmission. With the new ball, with the old ball, when it's flat, when it was reversing, he always made an impact. And he's just an unbelievable performer. And it'll be nice to see him back playing again.
Well, you look at the leading wicket takers yourself up there, Sean. Wonderful, wonderful record. 421 wickets at 23. Dale Steyn at 419. So he might want to try and knock you off the perch there. But to me, Sean, he looked like a very clever bowler, though. He knew exactly what he wanted to do and work batsmen out. Yeah,
when he first came on to see him, it was just raw speed, and he had a natural away swing. And I think that's been a real plus for him throughout his career. That natural away swing is difficult to teach. And he's had the ability to adjust and pick up the skills as he's gone along. He was very much a guy who actually learned a lot of the skills on the job over his first 2 or 3 years, much like Lungi will do. But he learned very quickly, and his ability, as I say, to be able to bowl reverse swing, he learned slow balls, he learned when and what to do against certain batsmen. He's a smart bowler, and as I say, he also spent a bit of time in county cricket, which helped him just polish off the rough edges.
Graham, it must be great to have a bowler. You know, as a captain, you know you got a Rabada in your side, you got a Mitchell Stark in your side, you got a Wazzy Makram, but you have bowlers of that calibre in your side. You walk out feeling confident, you knock things over.
Yeah, 100%, and Dale did it so often. He was also the type of guy as a captain that you could just get him wound up a little bit. You know, if you needed something to happen in the situation, you could go to him, you could poke him a little bit, and you knew that there'd be a bit of fire in the belly. And he so often opened up the doors for us to win, or you know, cleaned up games. He was such an asset on that front. He was the type of guy that could be bowling really badly, and suddenly you know, something would just spark him and he would turn the game in an afternoon. And it's a very rare thing to have on your side and a wonderful asset to have. And, you know, Dale Steyn, you know, certainly with Polly and the other rest of the guys that are over 300 wickets have made huge impacts in their career.
I'll tell you quick 2 stories about him. First of all, he rocked up to his first test with 1 pair of boots.
What?
1 pair of boots. I was his sponsor for the first 18 months. And secondly, he loved Coke and he loved Fanta. And he would always drink it, and he used to get cramps. So the staff said to him, listen, no more Coke and Fanta, you're not allowed to have it. He said, okay, fine. So he had to have Energade. So what he did is he poured the Energade and poured the Fanta into the Energade bottle and kept sipping it. So.
Still to this day, you'll walk down to breakfast and he'll be sipping on a Coke at 7 a.m.
But how did he pull up in the morning? Was he a guy that was just stiff and the warm-up lap was a killer for him or not?
I think he was like Alan Donald, just naturally fit. It didn't really come hard to him. He had to just rock up, and he had that fitness. He could run through. Us guys had to work hard at it. Those two, they were just natural athletes.
But, that's annoying, isn't it? You don't like that.
No, I mean, I think he was blessed, and I think people forget how long he played and how fast he bowled and how many overs he carried for such a long time. Yes, in the last year and a half, he's had a few big injuries, but you know, in many ways, once he recovers from that, maybe his body's rested and he can have a good 2 years or so to go.